Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudevasutam devam kamsachanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum. Krishnam vande jagadgurum. So we are at verse 24 of chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita. And I'm going to just summarize a little bit up to the point so we don't forget what we have done before. So basically the chapter 5 began with Arjun's question. He asked Krishna Bhagwan that, you're praising both the karma yoga and a karma sannyas, which is better? Just, very briefly, I'm going to go through the whole thing. So Krishna Bhagwan answered, hey, both are good. They lead to the same goal. But for you, I will suggest karma yoga because without karma yoga, karma sannyas becomes very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's not worth it to go through the trouble. So you go through in stages. And then he also explained to him that karma sannyas is not just renouncing, material things or just going in some gufa or something, but it is renouncing doership. That's the main point over here. So while doing action also, the doership has to be done because otherwise there is a total confusion that, you just all day sit in meditation or something. That's not what he's talking about. Basically to have that firm conviction that I'm not doing anything. And then we went through this whole thing, what does that mean and all that. And when you continue doing that, then you gain the wisdom. And also this process is for purifying the mind, whatever, So by karma yoga and other sadhanas and other practices, he mentioned so many different yagnas, you purify your mind, then you will be able to comprehend what self is. That's another very important thing because if you don't have a pure mind, your knowledge will become contaminated. You will start believing in wrong things, and we saw how andhavishwas and all those kind of things start coming in if you don't have the purity of the mind. And then you will meditate to realize that Brahman. So what then Krishna Bhagavan described the state of a realized master. What is his state? He's free from sorrow. That was a very, very main thing. And he doesn't get affected by up and down. And then, heat, cold at the body level, joy, sorrow at mind level, man, upman at the intellect level, all that we did. And this way he attains supreme happiness in the self itself, okay? And so to do all that, now we are not there yet. So we have discussed that, hey, we are not there. So what do we need? We need vairagya. Dispassion, not vairagya means drop everything and run. No, attachment to things. So we have discussed in detail. So Bhagavan gives another tip for that. And then we did a verse where Bhagavan says all sense contact with the sense objects. I mean, whatever we transact in the world, they have a beginning and the end. And they are womb of sorrow. Means they are like source of sorrow in the end. And we went in detail that how they always, end in sorrow. So that kind of joy, a little bit, the thoda sa happiness milta hai, that doesn't last. Okay. So that's what we had done. And see. And then he said also that one who can stand the force of Kam and Krodh while living in this world, that person becomes happy. Because he realizes that Kam and Krodh doesn't go away until we get self-realized. So what are we supposed to do? Do we get prosecuted by it all the time? He said, no. You have to, don't come under its sway. So even that practice is very, very useful. The more we learn to uske veg ko seh lena, Kam and Krodh ko, we will become happy. And then, so when the vairagya gets deeper and deeper, it means detachment happens deeper and deeper, and then you get the nirvikalp samadhi, meaning it's basically comprehend the self, and you become jivan mukta, and you get brahma nirvana, and there are many words for that, liberation, and nishreyas, and there are so many words for that, but we all have familiar with moksha or nirvana, also brahma nirvana. So now Krishna Bhagavan is going to talk more about such realized master who got the brahma nirvana. So even though we are not there yet, but this gives us a lot of hope and something to look forward to. Hey, wow, I want to reach that state too. It gives us encouragement by knowing. If I know my goal and how much everybody's running after happiness. We're just looking at the wrong places. That's what it is. So he's going to tell you that what does he experience within himself and all that. So those are the things. And then after 1 or 2, 3 verses, he's going to talk more about meditation. And interestingly enough, there's a nice synchronization happening, because in Kathopanishad also, it's matching now. So it is very, very nice that we could learn both, and then it kind of makes it more stronger, our belief, because both sides say we are being surrounded by it now. Let's put it this way. Okay, so with that background of chapter 5, I'm going to go to verse 24, and I'm going to chant. Whoever has the Gita can chant in their own home with me. Yonta sukhontara ramaha. This is a difficult one. Yonta sukhontara ramaha tathantara jyoti reva yah tathantara jyoti reva yah sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutoti gacchati. These big sandhis make me very nervous, but I'm trying. Okay, so what is in this verse now? So basically, we saw that Krishna Bhagavan is encouraging, hey, follow the karma yoga. So let's see a person who has followed the karma yoga, did the karma sannyas, went to the Gyan Marg, attained the vairagya, meditated on the self, and gained the Brahma Nirvana. So what will be his state in that case? He will have antah sukha. That's the word. This yaha antah sukha. Antah sukha means happy within. And, doesn't need anything outside to be joyful and happy. So, atma ka sukh jisko bolte hain. So let's analyze it. What did he mean by it? So he's saying that when they talk about anta sukha, it's nothing to do with like bahir sukha, indriya sukha, mana sukha, my mind is too happy. No, when mind gets attached to something, it might get temporarily happy, and then thing goes away, you are very upset. So it's nothing to do with all those changing things, okay? And then, the Dillivale Swami, he gave a very good example. He said, it's like the sun. When it reflects in the water, it still gives light. Because how if the water is clear, you're going to have a very nice light. But it's only a reflection still. It's not the real thing. The real is the sun. So whatever this outside world, we get the happiness, it's a reflected happiness. It's not the real thing. It's like I'm looking at my reflection in the mirror, and then what happens is if the mirror is dirty or has a problem, one second, let me mute him. If mirror has a problem, I'm not going to see my reflection properly. It will be all contaminated. That's why there is a problem outside, because it's like it depends on the medium. It's not the direct. So this person who has gained that state, he's getting that from the source, the happiness. He's not running after the reflection. Okay? So that's that analogy. If we kind of get it, then we will understand what is the difference between this Indriya Sukha, Mana Sukha, and all that. What the Swamiji said from Delhi, he said that we may not completely comprehend this yet, because we are not there yet. But if we go on the path, you can even look at all these things as a milestone. It's like if somebody's going in some path, then, hey, are you close to destination or not? you know, so you will get that indication. So one of the indication is, hey, am I kind of getting a little bit more happy with, with myself? Sometimes if the mind is not pure, you don't like your own company. You don't even know, I want friends, I want this, I want TV show and all. How we keep, oh, I'm bored and this and that. A lot of young people have that big issue. So the more we revel within ourselves, that's a milestone. That means I'm getting closer to the path. You can look at it that way. So this person kind of has completely realized that Atma itself is the supreme light, supreme consciousness, and supreme knowledge. Everything else is a reflection. And then, when you go in the temples in South, their temples are very different. They call it sanctum sanctorium. एकदम अंदर जाके वो भगवान की मूर्ति होती है. If you have experienced, those ancient mandirs in the South, and गर्भगृह बोलते हैं उसको एकदम. And वहाँ पर कोई only pandits stand there. Nobody else can go there. And then it's very dark, but then they put a diya and illumine the murti of, or whichever the deity over there. They illumine that represent the light of consciousness that's coming from within. That's why it's called Garbhagruha, it's called Sanctum Sanctorium. That is lighting the whole cosmos. So that's the kind of understanding they're talking about over here. Okay. And then, so this person who is become Brahman Nirvana or self-realized, he is the one who has realized the inner light of the self. And he understands that is the light that is illumining the senses, mind, and intellect. The power from the senses, mind, and intellect coming from there. It's a borrowed, जैसे चंद्रमा का प्रकाश बोलते हैं ना, borrowed प्रकाश है, Surya is self-illuminated. So here in this analogy, the Atma or Brahman is self-illuminated, and what we see as senses, minds, and intellect, that's like the moon reflected. So that's how he kind of knows this. So he's saying that such a yogi is the one who gets that state of nirvana, moksha, or state of Brahma. So when he gets that, he becomes free from all limitations. Without dropping the body, he becomes free from all limitations. That is the most important thing here in Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna Bhagavan talks about Jivan Mukti. While you are living, how you can get that final thing, and so, the Dilli Wale Swami reminded over here, with that example we have gone many times, but it is very good to repeat it here because then it will get more understanding. The pot and the space. That the space in the pot is like a bartan. Space in the pot start thinking, I'm the pot. And then has all the problems, or then the jealousy, anger, frustration with other pots. But then it realizes, no, hey, I'm not the pot, I'm the space. The moment it starts realizing, oh, this space is just not me, but every pot has the same space and it's one. You see that? So that's what this person who's got Brahman Nirvana, that's what he understands. That, this Atma and Brahman is one and the same. That's why he sees everybody as one and things like that. And then that's when he goes into the Nirvikal Samadhi, deep meditation, free from all bondages and become the Brahma. Then his vision changes. Because once, that pot space realizes, hey, I am the same. And everything is in me. Again, that whole, we used to wonder, hey, how can I ever think everything is in me? I'm so small, but I'm looking at my body, mind, and intellect. But if I look at that consciousness, that's when I realize, hey, consciousness is one. That's why when they make that statement that everything is in me, that's what it means. His vision changes. So this is what is in this verse. Anybody has any question, comment, or wants to add anything? Okay.
If we are in the total bliss, then we can go towards the inner self. And once we go to the inner self, and we can be free from our physical, astral, and the causal bodies, and then we get the complete thing. So main thing is, as you already said, that we need to be, um, we need to be uh, like happy at all situations, and naturally we can't control our senses all the time, but if we go more and deeper inside and we meditate and we get to the inner peace, then we are actually vibrating at the level of the Brahma, and then nothing affects us.
Right. So, true. So, and the great thing is that how to meditate, a very fantastic tip is coming in Kathopanishad. What it means by meditation, because like Tejamananji and our Gurudev and all that, they describe that just sitting quietly, that's not really meditation. That's called sitting quietly. If you don't intellectually understand what you're doing in it, then it is just sitting quietly. Saying that will also benefit you. It's not like it won't. But the kind of what they are talking about, it gives you the method how to do it. So there are so many tips. And when we go into chapter 6, there will be many more tips. But here, the Kathopanishad is going to open up some very important points. So it will help us, and what Sneha is saying right now, that's the path. Because, this is what the issue is. The complete freedom and happiness you only get when you get Brahma Nirvana. Then, but what are we supposed to do at our stage? That's the whole point. How do we achieve that peace of mind and not get disturbed by the worldly things? That's where the whole for us all journeys. And all the tips that Krishna Bhagwan gave, that's why he reminded that whatever happiness we get with the sense contact, us time pe bahut maja aata hai. Huh? But he's saying that always ends in sorrow if you just get stuck there. You have to remind yourself this is a reflected consciousness ka happiness. Okay, reflection can never match what is real. Imagine the reflection of a sun versus the real sun. There is no comparison. Okay, so it's a journey towards that real thing. So that's what it is. Sneha, you have anything more to add?
Yeah. And Christianity also says, Jesus said that after my body is destroyed, I will rebuild it in 3 days. So that means he would rise above all the past impulses connected with the physical, astral, and causal body, and then he'll be one in the spirit. So that's what he's saying. He would rise again.
Yeah, interesting. And that's, I think Yogananda is the one who, after he explains about Bible and Christianity, you find all the similarities, but their language is very mystical also. Exactly, just like we have in the Vedas, and all that language is mystical. So you need some saint and sage to analyze it. So they are saying the same thing, right? Sneha, it's over there in Christianity when you read the Bible. But if you just take the word meaning, and Swamiji is going to comment on it. In Vedanta and all these higher philosophy, you never take just the word meaning of Sanskrit, because you will be in deep trouble. You have to try to go deeper what they are trying to say through that. So true what you're saying. Anything else? Okay. Anilji, you want to read? Oh, I didn't do the Sanskrit. Did I do Sanskrit? No, let me do the Sanskrit and then you can read. Yaha is who, anta sukha, one whose happiness is within. Antara ramaha, one who rejoices within. So now you know कि वो Ram word कहाँ से आया है. The one who rejoices within, in that Atma, is Rama. Tatha is also Antah Jyoti, one who is illuminated within. So there is a light of knowledge, you can call it. Or the light of, it's the same thing, light of consciousness. It's the same thing. Eva is even, Yaha is who, Saha, that. Yogi we all know now. The one who practices all these things. Brahma Nirvanam, absolute freedom or moksha. Brahma Bhutaha, become Brahman. Adhigachati, attains. Okay, go ahead, Anilji.
He who is happy within, who rejoices within, who is illuminated within, that yogi attains absolute freedom or moksha himself becoming Brahman. From the above three stanzas, it becomes clear that, according to Krishna, none of the usual fields of joy and happiness are visited by the man of perfection. Neither the warmth of the flesh, nor the thrills of emotions, nor the ecstasies of thinking are available to him or for him. Renouncing them all and conquering both love and hatred, the yogi in sheer transcendence attains a realm of bliss, and Krishna declares that such a man alone can be said to be really happy.
A very, very high thing for us, but the path is given for us. That's the main thing.
It becomes very difficult to believe that a man in that condition would feel any happiness at all. All instruments of happiness have been rejected by him. There is no more any field for him to gain any joy or satisfaction. Renouncing all food, there cannot be any joy of eating ever possible.
So here, Swamiji is putting a question that, when you start on the path, this is what you start thinking. Oh my God, बोलते हैं ना कि like some younger people might think ये साधु लोग कितने बोरिंग होते होंगे, कुछ करते नहीं है, ना पार्टी में जाते हैं, ना अच्छा खाना खाते हैं, कुछ नहीं करते, because they think the joy is there, but they don't know what are they dancing, which tune they are dancing to. That's the difference, So this is a question that might come. Okay.
Again, it is against the very logic and rhythm of life to say that man will be satisfied by a mere emptiness, a dark cave of total negation. Every living creature roams about in all its available fields of activity, seeking to gain and achieve a greater fulfillment of joy. Even the state of complete absence of pain, though it is a platform of relief, is not the summit where an individual will feel contented and fully satisfied.
So here, basically this paragraph is saying everybody is looking for happiness. And if I don't know where the true happiness lies, because I've never read the Shastras, I've never listened to any Swami, nothing, and I have a feeling, the happiness is only in the world, okay? So that's where the problem comes. But now that somebody has either said Shravanam means either you read some in Bhagavad Gita, somebody tells you, then only, because this is a subtle thing, And I was thinking when I was reading this paragraph about that forgiveness workshop के बारे में जो मैंने आप सभी को बताया, and we had a nice discussion on forgiveness. It almost looked like एक किसी के साथ इतना बुरा हो, वो आदमी कैसे खुश रह सकता है, right? लेकिन उतने maybe when he followed the path of spirituality, he raised himself. That's what I was thinking. He raised himself and vibrated at a higher level with kindness and forgiveness and love and acceptance and empathy and all that. And he got out of sorrow. It's such a powerful thing, because those are the people who prove it can be done. That's what I was thinking.
Under the above circumstances, it will be a mere exaggeration to believe Krishna's assertion in the previous three stanzas. To avoid such a serious misunderstanding among the students, the Lord is here trying to find out for us the positive glow of assured divinity when the ego rediscovers itself to be the self, as it renounces all its delusory preoccupations with the false and the fleeting. The substantial and definite experience of solid bliss enjoyed and lived by the self, in the self, as the self, is indicated here in this stanza.
So now you saw that what they are saying, that that they are rediscovering it itself, that ego or finding the divinity within, and you can define that in so many different ways. But that's what it's saying, that if you give up those things, there is something amazing waiting for you. Let's put it this way, You're not going to end up like, oh, I'll end up it being nothing. That's why I think Buddhism, when they call shunya, Vedanti लोगों को वो अपील नहीं करता है. They like the word purna. If I'm giving something, I want to get purna, not just go dissipate in some shunya or something.
The seeker in this detachment not only withdraws himself from the world of objects outside, but also discovers in himself an ampler sense of bliss and security. This inward joy is not a rare flickering flash, but a constantly experienced factor. Such a well-developed seeker, striving constantly on the path, comes to discover a field of fruitful entertainment and engaging recreation in the brilliant light of joyous satisfaction within himself.
So here, long time ago when I used to study this with my teacher in Houston, I have put a note over here, and the story that we have discussed, the Drishtant, it's like a bhikari suddenly realizing that he was a king's son. He was a prince. That he was sitting and with a begging bowl, and then because वो मेले में खो गया था or whatever, just a दृष्टांत. And then he realized somebody comes and tells him. पहले तो वो मानने को तैयार नहीं, उसकी आदत भी नहीं जा रही थी. फिर उसको नहला धुला के and उसको ले गए. Look, you have everything. You don't need to beg. So the rediscovering yourself, that's what it is saying.
To him, his entire within is flooded with the light of pure consciousness. His heart is thereafter alit with the divine glow. Such an individual who has withdrawn himself completely within, where he has learned to enter at will and court and live in it, is the one who has come to know Brahman. In his realization of the infinite, he has come to experience the bliss of Brahman, the smokeless shrine of truth.
So here, this may be a little bit confusing. Such an individual who has withdrawn himself completely within, where he has learned to enter at will and court and live in it. What he's saying that using your mind, intellect and all that body as an instrument only. Not completely on 24/7, but hey, when I need it in the world, I use it, then I shut it and put it away. Not that thought keeps churning, not like that. And then there was a verse that, again, from my old notes over here, that we had seen a verse कि एक turtle कैसे withdraw कर लेता है अपने आप को. When he sees danger, takes all his limbs, those 5 senses, and withdraws within himself. So when he doesn't want to use those 5 senses, maybe something you don't want to indulge with, something is going on, you want to indulge with that, you just withdraw yourself. In fact, like our teacher used to say that meditation doesn't have to be, once you practice and all that, doesn't have to be only at a quiet place. You should be able to withdraw yourself at will anytime. Even in the सबसे ज़्यादा शोर हो रहा हो, तब भी. इतना control हो जाता है इन लोगों को, people who are at that stage, of course, but we have to practice that. Like sometime one of the clips in that Geeta 365, Swamiji was explaining that, this man wants to meditate. और सुबह सुबह इतना हल्ला मचाया उसने, I'm meditating, please everybody be quiet, and सबको धमका के उसने रखा. फिर बैठा and the wife is cooking something, फिर खुशबू आई तो बोला अच्छा बाद में करूँगा, पहले मैं वो पकौड़े खा लूँ, or something. Means, totally like sitting, but उसका सब सारा ध्यान बाहर है. और दूसरा है कि कितना भी शोर हो रहा हो, he has learned. वो जाके दूसरों को नहीं बोलता कि तुम चुप हो जाओ, वो अपने आप को चुप करता है. So that's the difference, what they're talking about.
Umaji, Swami Sarv Priyanandaji, he talked about Shardama. And he said, she was, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he was away. He was just meditating. She dealt with everyday life all the time. And then, somebody asked her, do you meditate or do you do something? She said, if I didn't take care of these things, who will take care of them? But when I need it, it's there. I can go back.
Amazing. Yeah, that's exactly right.
She said, when I need that, I go back to it. And so that means it was so easy for her
to go in and out and to get that strength, again,
Right.
if she needed. And she was out again working into the world
Yeah,
because
very
she
good
did
example.
most of the work.
Right. Amazing.
So that's what, he talked about, Chardama.
Yeah, it fits with this whole thing. True.
Someone asked also Sri Ravi Shankar, do you meditate and how long do you meditate for? So he just laughed. He said, I'm always in a meditative state. Like these people, Ponche hue log hai, they don't really need a time and a place to sit
No,
down.
they
They're
don't.
always in that state.
Yes. Yeah, with the
They
same.
don't get affected by anything. Yeah, they're always smiling.
Because they are what they are peace people. This was described, कि भाई जो ब्रह्म निर्वाण में पहुंच जाता है उसका क्या. So, but we have to just gather some points and try to, experience that little karke. Then we will reach there. And even there is one more anecdote when somebody asked Chinmayanandji, Swamiji, how long should I meditate in a day? He said 24 hours. And because that the other swamis explained what it meant. Hey, meditation doesn't mean that you just sit down and at one place and then rest of the time you forget God. So it's like every action you have to be alert that about that consciousness. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Shiv is a best example. He's meditating all the time.
Yeah, and Shiva, any of these Bhagwan you see, वैसे वो meditation में बैठते हैं, other time पे वो उठ के तांडव करते हैं, So एकदम opposite. मगर वो तांडव में भी वो meditation में है, because he is never away from his real self. That is just his karma that he's doing. Dissolution is a part of his karma. Like in the whole thing, to creation or manifestation, बोल दो, maintenance and then dissolution. So he has to do that.
Actually, many people are confused with the definition of meditation.
Oh yes, a lot of confusion is there, and that's what in Kathopanishad, the verse that we're going to do, Tejomayanandji explained that, what real meditation is. So that some of those confusion is going to get cleared. As we go, and the big topic is coming in chapter 6. It covers everything.
Also regarding bliss, one gets bliss from within, not from external sources.
That's
And
the whole
that,
thing, yes.
Yeah, that is what the bliss is. And so once you get in that bliss, your body cannot take it anymore. So you have to stop that bliss unless you get used to it.
I mean, that's not what Bhagavad Gita says. Okay, Bhagavad Gita says you can. In fact, it says that stay in that bliss and work outside. That's what it says,
Well, maybe the body once become used to, you can. But normally, if you get the bliss,
the tendency is to sit down and just be in that bliss, but you have to go one step ahead, because it's going to come in the next verse now. That what does that person who became in the bliss does? That's a very important point. That he actually does sarva bhuta hite rataha. He revels in the happiness of everybody. And that is a very, very big message, because otherwise say, oh, if I'm so blissful, then why do I have to do anything? I can just be blissful. Then that Brahma Nirvana is not complete at all. And even all our gods, all the three, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they do so much work. But the symbolism is Vishnu Bhagwan is laying there and we think he's just resting. No, he's not resting. He's maintaining, And it's like some big executive, sitting in and he's very deeply just sitting like that and thinking, and some laborer might think, ye to kuch karta bhi nahi hai, and he's earning so much money. But they don't know that he's thinking about the company, how to run it and how to make profit so that the laborer can get some money. See that even in the worldly thing, we see that example. That the people who are, at some higher level and all, they have to do a lot more work. It just doesn't show as a physical work maybe, but they are working a lot, So there are many aspects to this.
Umaji, I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
No, yeah. I want can you put a little bit more light
on
the concept that how we worldly people can withdraw our how we inwardly, how we
Okay,
can
so I'll tell you, let's wait for that in Kathopanishad, because whatever you asked, 100% is coming over there.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
so then, and we can, that half an hour discussion that we have at the end, then it will be very
Okay.
fruitful. Because
Okay,
let's
thank
learn that what Yamaraj told Nachiketa, that how you should do it, and that will help us to understand the true meaning, what it is, what we should do. Okay?
Well, one comment I have on this, when you meditate, always start with some mantra. I don't know whether it's Om or some whatever, like the singers have a mantra. Like Pandit Jasraj always started with a mantra. And that mantra is like a bookmark. So when you end your meditation, you end with that mantra. So what happens is when next time you start at that bookmark. And so you'll keep deeper and deeper as you do more meditation, because that bookmark will remain, in your depth. So that is one way to go deeper.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Bhaiya.
And the other thing I want to tell you is, Sheila ji, that Abhi bas very soon the whole chapter on meditation is coming. It's going to tell you everything. How to sit, food and this and that, everything is going to come. And the difficulties also. Hey, these are the difficulties that's come and how to overcome that. So, it will slowly open up everything. Okay. Shall we go to the next verse? Okay. So the next verse, 25, is more about this same, self-realized person. Uske bare mein hai. So I'm going to chant and tell you what is in it, then we'll read. If we have time, we will read. Labhante brahma nirvanam rishaya kshina kalmashaha Chinna dvaidhaya tatmanaha sarvabhuta hiterataha. Labhante is obtained. Brahma nirvanam, absolute freedom. Rishayaha, the rishis. Kshina kalmashaha, those whose sins are destroyed. Chinna dvaidha, whose dualities are torn asunder. Yat atmanaha, those who are self-controlled. Sarvabhuta hite, in the welfare of all being, rataha rejoices. This is a very, very important part that it will explain what Joe had brought up, that, how does that person function in the world after he gets Brahma Nirvana. So in this verse, firstly, they use the word Rishi. And, even though we think that they all mean the same thing, Rishi, Muni, and all those yataha, but each one has a slightly different meaning. It's pointing to that person who has reached that state. Rishi means seer. In English, if you translate seer of what, and the Dilli wale Swami is very funny saying, not seer of movies, seer, mantra drishta, or seer of the truth. The person who has, यहाँ पर खाली आँखों से देखने वाली बात नहीं, समझने वाली बात है, seer, So he's saying that once this person, we saw that how he comes to that point of Brahma, Nirvana or Moksha, or liberation, Nishreyas, all of that. What happens to him is, he becomes free of kalmashaha word use kiya hai, means sins bola hai, but samjho negativity in the mind. I think that's a better for us. Rather than the word sin, all the dirt of the mind. That is kalmasha. Negativities, impurities in the mind, when vibrating at a lower level, anger, jealousy, frustration, all that is gone. So actually, we know this, but let's I'll repeat it over here. The basic impurity is the ignorance of the self. ये जो भाई बहन है ना ignorance के, वो हैं ये सारे काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह, मद, मात्सर्य, ignorance की वजह से आते हैं. So because ignorance is what, our teacher in Houston had a very good word for it. Identity crisis we have. We think we are this mind, body, and intellect. I love that word, identity crisis. So we have the ignorance is nothing but identity crisis. I'm thinking I'm all this, but actually I'm not. These are just my instruments. So another thing that happens to such a person is free from duality means what? सारे संशय खत्म हो जाते हैं उसके, सारे डाउट्स खत्म हो जाते हैं उसके, you know. So डाउट्स कब होता है? इंटेलेक्चुअली मैंने समझा किसी बात को, पर मैं कन्विंस नहीं हुई अभी हमने डिस्कस किया था ना ये बात कि लॉट ऑफ अस आर एट अ स्टेज, काफ़ी कुछ हम इंटेलेक्चुअली समझ गए हैं, अभी 100% कन्विक्शन नहीं हुआ है, उसमें थोड़ा डाउट्स आता रहता है, यू नो. सो द वे दिल्ली वाले स्वामी वाज एक्सप्लेनिंग दैट when we get little more clear and clear होता है डाउट, हमारे क्वेश्चन भी सबलाइम होते जाते हैं. अर्जुन का भी क्वेश्चन अभी सबलाइम होते जाएंगे जैसे जैसे आगे आगे बढ़ते जाएंगे. एंड देन एक समय ऐसा आता है कि सब डिसॉल्व हो जाता है, तभी वो डुअलिटी का सारे संशय का नाश हो जाता है एकदम. एंड देन ही सेड, ही एक्सप्लेन्ड दिस स्टेट वेरी नाइसली. ही सेड you directly comprehend what it is. Because when your mind becomes pure, that's the only time you directly comprehend what self is. उसके पहले अगर हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे ना तो वो ज्ञान कच्चा पक्का होगा. It's not going to be a very, very good and pure ज्ञान. Okay? So he says in English language में अगर use करना है तो without media. You get directly, because हम मीडिया क्या है हमारे माइंड एंड इंटेलेक्ट एंड सेंसेस. बोलते ना कि अगर मैं दुनिया देख रही हूँ एंड आई पुट अ कलर्ड ग्लासेस ऑन मी, तो मेरे को सारी दुनिया वो नीली पीली जो मैंने रंग पहना है वैसी दिखाई देगी. तो वैसे हमारे माइंड में जो कूड़ा कचरा भरा हुआ है, व्हेन वी इंगेज इन द वर्ल्ड और वी लुक एट द सेल्फ और ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड, इट विल बी ऑल थ्रू द मीडिया. एंड दिस इज लाइक नो मोर दैट मीडिया इज देयर. It's a direct contact. And that, like, just say, another way I was thinking is mind become pardarshi. You know the word pardarshi, transparent, not translucent. Translucent may be still problem there. Transparent. When the light just goes through, totally transparent, that's how. So he's saying that सच अ पर्सन का क्या होता है, वो माइंड जो है ना बेकार में उधर उधर भागता नहीं है जैसे हम लोग का भागता है. इट डजंट मूव एनीवेयर बिकॉज इट डजंट हैव एनी प्लेस टू गो इन अ सेंस. like everybody was discussing, like Joe was discussing or Sneha was saying, that if you learn to be happy within yourself, you don't feel like your mind has to go here, I want this, I want that, you know what I'm saying. So it doesn't move anywhere, it's at the same place. And Nikhilanandji, Delhi Wale Swami, he gave a very good example. He gave a drishtant, saying they use this word for a person, I don't know, some Muslim name he was saying, just as a joke only, that Mullah Nasruddin or something, They always, some people use this Mullah. I think maybe one of the saints used to use this Mullah Nasruddin. He's saying एक बार वो donkey पे बैठ के भाग रहा था. तो डोंकी इधर उधर भाग रहा था, तो somebody said, तुम कहाँ जा रहे हो, तो वो बोला, मुझे क्या मालूम, डोंकी से पूछो. मीन्स हमको पता ही नहीं, हमारा मन हमको खा लेता. माइंड इज लाइक अ डोंकी. वो मुल्ला नसरुद्दीन का डोंकी, वो लाइक उसको मालूम ही नहीं कि वो कहाँ जा रहा है, जहाँ वो ले जा रहा है वहाँ जा रहा है. Okay? Our mind is like a donkey only, taking us here and there. So he's saying that when it doesn't, means intellect also just stays where it is. When you need it for some action, it uses it, puts it back. Over-analyzing, overusing, it doesn't do, these people. And he gave the example of Ramana Maharishi. Whoever has read his Jivani and all that, he spoke very little. In fact, that whole famous book, the man who made him famous was this book called Search in Secret India. Paul Brunton उसका नाम है. So the पहली बार जब वो गया ना रमन्ना महर्षि के पास, तो वो बोला कि he got really irritated. He said, ये कैसे स्वामी है, कुछ बोलते ही नहीं है. People just used to go and sit with him. Hours, not talking. And their questions used to get resolved, and they used to go in deep meditation. He had not experienced that yet. And it's not like he never spoke. He spoke very little, but very powerful things whenever he spoke, very minimum, So he's saying that that's the example of this Brahma Nirvan person, Unnecessarily they don't talk. The mind is not over analyzing, doing anything. And then the other word they have used over here is yatatmanaha, those who are self-controlled. What does that mean? Their mind and senses are and intellect is all the same thing, what we are discussing. That is a word it is pointing to. And such a person, because he understands that the same Atma is Brahman and is everywhere, he gets completely in the tune with the cosmos. हम लोग को जबरदस्ती ट्यून कराना पड़ता है, अपने आप को याद दिलाना पड़ता है, that I am part of the nature and, I cannot. They are automatically in tune with the nature. And that's why they are always, इधर लिखा है सर्वभूत हिते रताहा. रताहा word means rejoicing or reveling in something, जिसमें आनंद आता हो उनको. क्या चीज में आनंद आता है? सबके वेलफेयर में. They have no भेदभाव कि भाई this person को मैं ज़्यादा ज्ञान दूँ because ये अधिकारी है, वो नहीं है. जिसका जो प्रॉब्लम है का वो सॉल्व करने के लिए तैयार है वो, if he can help it, And then another point that Nikhilanandji said was that these people are in the state of ahimsa. They don't want to hurt